Ah. Hello again. I'm still on the rock, my dear children. And it's still me, your Messiah again. And as always, by Messiah, I mean the one who's there to open your eyes. And it's true what Jesus said. There is only one Savior that will come in my name. And that's because it's always me. Not the person Torolv, not the person Jesus, but what's inside him. And that's only one thing, always. And it's an expression of this universe. Because when there is, just imagine God for a second. God is this almighty being that can have anything at his fingertips at all times. Now, God does not have fingertips because he is everything. He doesn't need them. He's formless and without time. But he's bored as, well, hell, really. That's why we are now as individuals, because God can do whatever he wants, and he doesn't like to just be able to do anything at all times. That makes no sense when you have all the power infinitely. Why would you want that? It gets mundane and boring after a time. So he splits himself because he has humor. And that's a humor is very often, I'm spitting. Sorry. I'm still very hungover, as you can see. Humor is fundamentally a fun way to tell a lie, or a truth that is set in a lie. And that's why it's funny, because we all can see it, but when it's presented in a certain way, then that becomes funny to us. That makes reality just a hide and seek game for ourselves. Because whenever you interact with someone, you're actually interacting with yourself. And you get whatever you want at all times. And what you want is what you're acting out. So if you're kind to people, guess what? People are kind to you. If you're brave, that inspires people around you to be brave as well. And if you're cowardly and angry and bitter, don't expect to get any love whatsoever from anyone. See this mosquito here? Just move it. Go away. Because I show it love in the sense that I don't want it to bite me, so I show myself love and I show it love, then the universe will notice that, because you notice it in yourself. And that's who you become. You become a more loving person through the small, tiny acts of kindness every day. And when that accumulates over time, it gets bigger and bigger, because people around you notices what you're doing. And by no means, no person is perfect, because the only thing that's perfect in this universe is God. And when God notices that is inside you, that you act this way, and you devote your life to this. You don't have to call it God. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it Dad for all I care, or Mom. But that makes it notice within you that you are trying to make the world a better place. And that makes opportunities within your timeline, that makes reality be more kind to you. That doesn't mean that you're going to experience bad days and have some terrible accidents. No, it doesn't, because the universe is partially random. So that means you can die at any moment. But in this chaos, that's so rarely fatal, because you live, right? You haven't experienced death yet, I think. Most of you haven't, probably. Where was I? Oh, yeah. That makes God notice you. I mean, you notice yourself within yourself, how you're acting, and you're kind, and that presents opportunities. Like doors will open for you that you never knew were possible, because you're acting as a loving person that inspires everyone around you. And when you inspire people around you, if you're kind to people around you, then people are going to be kind back to you. And this is not because you expect something in return. You should never do that. That is doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. And if you do that, God will notice, because you notice. And if God is omnipresent, that means you have eyes on you the entire time. And that means that whatever you see, God sees. And there's a reason you can do nothing wrong in your sleep. It's because you're not conscious. God isn't conscious. That's you. So now there's a mosquito biting me, and I don't like that. I'm gonna slap it, not because of anger, but because I love myself. And you have to do that as well, because we as humans are limited beings. We are. We're dying every day, all the time. You have to kill yesterday in order for tomorrow to come. And when you die, like this person, I jump off a rock, I die. Then this person doesn't exist anymore, but what lives inside that person goes on. And you bring this into your next life, because reincarnation is a thing. Because I like the saying of Alan Watts. What is reincarnation? It's you being born again. In what? Like the same person? Like the same physical appearances? No, it's what's within the person. So the saying is something along these lines. It's a fact that people die, right? And there's a fact that a baby is born. And that's reincarnation. Because if souls, whatever is in you exists, does it exist without you, or does it just exist in you? Because if it only exists in you, then where did it come from? Did it come from this dead universe that's just rocks and dust, really? Just bumping molecules? No, because consciousness can't come from nothing. Or that's exactly what it does, but nothing doesn't exist. So it's paradoxical, but it kind of makes sense in my weird little head, at least. So so whenever you die, you get born into another body. But as we have human consciousness, that means we get born into human bodies. And when a human body is born, it doesn't have any experiences from its past lives, because that brings so much baggage with it that you can't even begin to. As a child, your mind isn't developed enough. That means human minds have to contain, or human consciousness contains, no, human mind contain human consciousness, because they fit, they are aligned. So you can't have a cat's consciousness in a human, or maybe you can, because it's less, but you can't have a human consciousness within a cat, because it's too complex. It won't be able to do the things that a human is supposed to do. So you have many past lives, and human consciousness is a weird concept, because a human doesn't really exist. Everything about you is just you. And human is just a concept of what it is to have these 4 limbs and having this biological line or whatever. It's all just a mixture of personalities that are a mixture of these godly entities that have certain qualities to them that makes reality and your personality, because these entities are so complex that it fits and mixes millions and billions of tiny little adjustments to your personality. And when it does that, that becomes you. And that's like a pyramid. So at the top you have God, and then it splits into 2, yin and yang, and that splits into like these godly personality things, and then that splits into personalities, like different personalities, and those personalities have a direct kind of just line down to the people living here. So the consciousness is reality in essence. If you just take what splits and splits and splits and do the other way around, it unites instead. So how we return to the source, if we so choose, is by trying to unite. And we can't unite if we are enemies. And we don't want to unite if we enjoy our experience. So I love being Torolv. And that's why I am. Because these discoveries are so amazing every time I get them. And that's what makes it so fun. And also so futile, because I'm never going anywhere. I'm always stuck. So if I want to return to the source, because this is the same old track that I'm going, if you do psychedelics, you will notice this, that you might say something like, oh, are we doing this again? And you have these thought loops, and it just keeps on going, because you're experiencing yourself in the same track as you always do, because you cannot make a change in your life if you have the same mindset today that you had yesterday. So by being more spontaneous and trying new things and risks, that, and simultaneously aligning yourself with that which you call God, which is what you put the highest. And that's usually through love, kindness, and joy, and all those positive feelings. You have to identify with those, and not the negative feelings like anger, shame, guilt, whatever. And it's perfectly fine to express them. Anger, you can be like, ah, stupid rock, ah! But okay, yeah. But you don't have to, you have to not align yourself with them, because if you do that, then you become a resentful and angry and bitter person, and that takes you a little step further towards hell. And this includes fear, because fear is one of the, that's probably the biggest contributor to making hell today, these days at least. Fear is the greatest problem on earth. And we don't notice when we are fearful, because it's so ingrained within our consciousness and ourselves, that if something happens, then that's probably bad. And if it's bad, I'm gonna die. And if I die, then everything is bad. Then I'm going to hell, or my children are going to hell because I didn't do my part. So if you do the right thing for the wrong reasons, out of fear, and that fear can be so subtle, you don't even realize it. For example, when you use your belt in the car, that's because of fear. And you don't feel the fear, but it's there. It's the fear of crashing, and it's a very rational fear, absolutely. So we should use seatbelts. That's not what I'm advocating. But if you do that with, it's the balance between security and freedom, right? And if you do that enough or way too much, then that's going to imprison you. And you get an imprisonment of fear within your own mind. And that drags you towards hell. And that's a really hard loop to get out of. And the only way to escape this prison is by being brave. Courage. That's the start of your journey towards heaven and joy and love for everything and everyone. And that's how you realize that you are God, by being brave. So be brave and you'll be happy. I promise you. All right. I love each and every one of you, or just one, depending on how many sees this. And I'm not making this for you, I'm making this for me, because you are me. All right, I'll see you whenever I see you. Bye.